how you can get closer to your friends. That research coming up in the show.
Want to learn how to find your sense of belonging? More on that later.
We'll introduce you to one Furman student who's literally raising the bar. That's later in sport.
Hello, and welcome to the Nightly News. I'm Marissa Shabis. Let's start with some of the top stories around the world. Cole Morehead has headlines from this week.
Thanks, Marissa. We begin our international news today with news from Gaza. Tragically, a recent Israeli Defense Force strike inadvertently claimed the lives of 7 aid workers from the World Central Kitchen, a humanitarian organization dedicated to serving communities in crisis. The World Central Kitchen has announced they will be pausing operations in Gaza in response to this attack. On Monday, former President Donald Trump secured a new $175 million bond for his civil fraud case in New York. This figure was originally $464 million, but was reduced in a New York appellate court last week. In a groundbreaking achievement, scientists in South Korea have shattered records in nuclear fission technology, sustaining temperatures of 100 million degrees Celsius for an astonishing 48 seconds. Their K-STAR research device has surpassed previous milestones. This feat, 7 times hotter than the sun's core, is a pivotal step towards unlocking limitless carbon-free energy. The breakthrough, achieved by the Korean Institute of Fusion Energy, holds promise for combating climate change. While challenges remain, including engineering hurdles, this leap forward signals a potential green energy revolution on the horizon. That's it for your world news.
Thanks, Cole. In other national news, we are awaiting a decision from the Supreme Court on a case that could affect many American women. Last week, the U.S. Supreme Court justices began a discussion on a case involving the FDA-approved abortion pill, mifepristone. This pill is widely used for abortions, accounting for 6 out of 10 abortions in the United States, according to the Guttmacher Institution. Attorneys argued that the FDA overlooked issues with the drug when it made the drug available via mail in 2021. Abortion rights attorneys argued that the decision was made after mifepristone's safety was monitored for 20 years. A decision likely won't be made until the summer. Now, an update of the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse. This week, workers were able to get a portion of the channel open. They are now receiving help from the U.S. Navy using the sonar footage to map the debris field, as workers and divers are coordinating their efforts to get the port back open as soon as possible.
It is the largest port for roll-on, roll-offs, which is anything with wheels, cars, trucks, cranes, anything like that. Most new vehicles are coming in through the Port of Baltimore. So even though the ports of Virginia and New Jersey might be bigger, they don't have the same tools to handle that type of cargo.
You may remember the bridge collapsed last week when a huge cargo ship hit it around 1:30 in the morning. The Biden administration has approved $60 million so far for the cleanup and restoration. Tensions are rising as millions of users are worried about the United States banning one of its most popular apps, TikTok. The House passed a bill on March 13th that will ban TikTok if the company isn't sold to an American-based enterprise. The bill was passed by a vote of 352 to 65. It now goes to the Senate. We talked to politics major E.J. Wilson.
I personally don't think China is trying to steal information. Cybersecurity, it's certainly an issue in modern society. If it gets banned in the United States, I won't be offended too much. But at the same time, there's plenty of people who think it limits free speech, which is one of the core principles of the United States of America.
TikTok has more than 170 million American users, and many of them are small businesses. So if the ban passes, many of them would be impacted. This coming week is jam-packed full of CLPs, so if you need some for class registration, now is the time. On Monday, you can learn about leadership across different disciplines at 5 p.m. in Hartness Pavilion. Then, at 6 p.m., Dr. Paulette Ramsey and Dr. Judith Williams will be discussing the global influence of Jamaicans in the U.S. and Great Britain on Tuesday, star of Netflix's hit show, Love on the Spectrum will speak on autism awareness in Johns 101 at 5 p.m. At 6:30, the Institute for the Advancement of Community Health is hosting a panel on the intersection of community health and housing insecurity. Also at 6:30, Dr. Dre Brent Morris will speak on the massive Great Dismal Swamp. Communicating within relationships can be tricky. Learn skills to navigate it on Thursday at Can We Talk at 6:30 p.m. Finally, catch a showing of Orpheus in the Underworld, performed by the Sarah Reese Lyric Theater on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. in McAllister Auditorium. Seniors, if you are missing a CLP, these are some great ones to go to in order to meet that graduation requirement. It's that time of year where students across campus are preparing to present their research at Furman Engaged. Ella Harrison looked into one group's project.
Touch deprivation during COVID-19 is associated with higher anxiety. As we get back out with our friends, how do we move past that isolation in our post-COVID world? In their year-long research class, 2 Furman students are touching on just that.
Oxytocin, which is basically like the happy hormone. So like when you have positive physical touch, you do release like a happy hormone.
Junior Sophie Tyndall and sophomore Landon Sutton decided to take a different route than many of their classmates and investigate how physical touch impacts Furman friendships.
Living in the digital era, and people are just used to being on their phones, and like if you're uncomfortable in a situation, it's just easy to not really interact or engage in any physical touch.
The pair found that prior research suggests that thermal warmth lowers stress indicators. Using this information, they formulated survey questions that would shed light on sociological impacts of touch.
We did that by coding our questions in a way through 1 through 5 that ask questions about satisfactions and how comfortable you are with your friendships here, and then later asking questions about how often do you like high-five your friends or quote-unquote dab them up or give them a hug, those kind of things.
I decided to do some research of my own and ask my fellow Furman students if they would like a free hug. The question made a few of my research subjects uncomfortable, but for many others, it brought shared smiles and laughter. And this response seems to align with Tyndall and Sutton's findings. According to their 188 responses, data suggest a positive correlation between physical touch and quality of friendship at Furman.
So to really see all this unravel is something that it's great, and it's really exciting to see because we've devoted so many hours.
This genuinely does have an immediate effect on your friendship and your mental health. Like, just knowing that, kind of trying to challenge yourself to be like, okay, I'm gonna be more open to that.
So get out there, Paladins. Give a hug, handshake, or high five to your friends the next time you see them. I'm Ella Harrison reporting for the Nightly News.
If you're interested in learning more about Sophie and Landon's research, they will be presenting at Furman Engaged on April 12th in Johns 101. Finding your sense of belonging at a predominantly white institute can be hard for Black students on campus, especially if you're not an athlete. Our Jada Walker has more.
While Joseph Vaughn walked down these steps more than 60 years ago, there's only currently 180 Black students at Furman, and most of them are athletes. So it's easy for them to find their sense of belonging.
A lot of student athletes typically stick together because they are on the same schedule and they do all the same things at the same time.
Senior chemistry major Kelsey Sumter says because of different scheduling and commitments, there's a disconnect between the Black student athletes and non-athletes.
Very disconnecting, I would say, for the Black community on campus, with us already being a minority.
There are 2,283 undergrad students on campus, and finding your sense of belonging at a predominantly white institution can be challenging.
Being Black out of PWI kind of brings a lot of feelings of imposter syndrome for me because it makes me feel like out of place.
But eventually, Kelsey found the place where she can let her talent explode as a minority in the chemistry department, practicing cosmetic chemistry. And it only took one class to help her find that place where she felt at home.
And the answer was no. And so while I was taking organic chemistry at the time, I was kind of just joking about it with the people at my table. And my professor overheard me and was like, well, if you major in chemistry, and I was like, actually, I think I could find a way to connect those dots.
Kelsey turned her hobby into a career and helped her find a sense of community at Furman. It may take you a minute to get plugged into a group or something you care about, but eventually you will find your sense of belonging on campus. Reporting for Nightly News, Jada Walker.
And here are some tips from Franklin Ellis on how to find your place in the community. Combat imposter syndrome by realizing and knowing that you belong. Be confident that the work you did to make it into the university was more than enough. Don't question your place as the institution. Nurture your heritage and identity by getting involved in clubs and orgs that support them. Find ways to build community. Find mentors who share in your identity to support and advocate for you. Earlier in the season, Disha Patel took us with her as she upcycled her clothes and made a cute skirt out of a sweater. Now let's see what other students have to offer. The Sustainability Eco Fair, hosted by Furman University, was filled with energy. Students from diverse talents came together to showcase their innovative ideas and products. There were so many options to choose from: blankets, clothes, plants, paintings, and earrings.
I started crocheting when I was in 2nd grade, and I've learned to dabble in quite a few things ever since. But I absolutely love sharing my creativity with Furman's campus at the Eco Fair.
I really enjoy the Eco Fair because it's a great experience for both student vendors and local community vendors to come out and sell their stuff. I personally sell jewelry and prints of my painting, and it's really fun.
These are some great sustainability companies. Students, if you have a company, the Class E podcast would love to have you as a guest. Just contact Mary Sturgill or Caroline Collins. Here at Nightly News, we know the power of words, and we found a local woman-owned business called Ink Meets Paper that shares our love of words. Allison and Jamie Nadeau are co-owners of the card company. Each card is designed, printed, and packaged in their studio. They are printed on one of 3 vintage printing presses. The pair has flipped a new page in the printing press realm, as this art is typically reserved for custom items like wedding invitations. They settled on greeting cards as they see the great power they hold.
What we loved about letterpress was how it upheld handwriting words of love to one another, because we see that as like a very sacred moment when you're willing to sit down, take some time and put your thoughts and your love through your hand with an instrument onto paper. We feel like, this matters, and it's going to matter even more and more as the years go on, as screens kind of have taken over our lives.
If you would like to purchase an Ink Meets Paper card, you can find them at Page and Post, M. Judson Booksellers, and Barnes & Noble. Turning to arts here on campus. In just 2 weeks, the theater department will showcase a new play. The play is about 2 fencers training for the Junior Olympics who spend every day together. However, they are each other's biggest rivals. This is not just any play that you might rehearse some lines for. In fact, these students attended an out-of-state fencing camp to truly immerse and prepare themselves for their roles.
So we visited Foothills Academy, which is around 35 minutes away, and that was really cool to go into a facility that teaches kids how to fence, because I had no idea how to do it. It was really cool to put on their gear, talk to their professionals, and get some one-on-one training and some basics about how to fence so that we can be more realistic for our show. I think my favorite part would probably be just taking on a character that is really opposite from myself. It's really fun to be able to put on her shoes and step into her world for a little bit.
The play will be presented from April 17th to April 20th in the Playhouse. Admission is $5. While those actors practice their on guard, let's lunge over to sports for some athletics action. Esme?
Thanks, Marissa. The Dins had some big wins this week, starting strong with the softball team's close call with Clemson. Softball shocked the 17th-ranked Clemson on Tuesday, 4-3. Junior Laura Lee Sott tossed a complete game to lead Furman to victory in the Tigers' own backyard. Furman took the lead in the top of the 7th as pinch hitter Ainsley Yoshizumi and Ashley Likens reached with a single and walk respectively before moving into scoring position on a ground out. With 2 outs, Kylie Perry hit a sharp grounder towards first base that skipped off of a Clemson fielder's glove and into right field, allowing 2 runs to score. The Dins were able to hold the Tigers to only 1 run in the bottom of the 7th. The victory, which moved the Dins to 18-18 on the season, marked Furman's first ever win versus the Tigers and upped its record to 2-1 against the ACC this season.
It was really great to beat Clemson. It was a great team win. We played them 7 times, and to finally come out on top meant everything.
The Lady Dins hosted the Chattanooga Mocs this weekend in a SoCon matchup, and let's just say that the Mocs did not walk in our trap and take it over, as they got swept off the court, losing 7-0. Sarah Snyder, a junior on the tennis team, dominated on Saturday, serving up aces and bringing the energy all day. Ellie Schleston and partner Macy Hitchcock rolled through their matches as well, winning in straight sets, sending the Mocs packing. The men's team also faced off against Chattanooga on Saturday in a thriller, winning 4-3. The fans came out to support, which resulted in a lot of intensity throughout the match. Emotions got the best of Chattanooga, though, as they couldn't hang in there with the Dins. There was also some controversy during that match that resulted in a meeting at center court to discuss a point in which interference occurred. In the end, the Dins pulled it off, though, with the help of sophomore Thomas Kennedy, who won his doubles and singles match. Men's tennis looks to finish their season strong, taking on the Citadel on Friday, East Tennessee State on Monday, and Wofford on Wednesday, all of which will be here at Furman. There are some pretty amazing athletes on campus, and not all of them participate in the major sports. Blythe Novick brings us a story of one athlete who is literally raising the bar in her sport.
We all know that Furman is home to a herd of Division I athletes, but there are some incredible athletes that aren't on recognized teams here. Betsy Rush is a powerlifter who doesn't need the spotlight to strengthen her ability.
I started powerlifting my freshman year, so I'm actually a sophomore. So it's been about a year and a half, and I love it.
Powerlifting is not a sport that you have teammates to lean on. The only person putting in the time to be successful is oneself.
I love that it's basically me challenging myself and competing with myself. So it's my own numbers, my own goals, and I love that. I love team sports as well, but I really like that I can be disciplined and really work through it myself. For example, like if I have a goal for personal record I want to get, I can just really strive to work on that throughout the weeks to get that exact goal.
Betsy's favorite lift is the bench press, where she currently lifts 125 pounds with hopes to hit 135, an impressive squat around 250, and a deadlift of 265 pounds. Powerlifting is commonly looked at as a male-dominant sport, but there's nothing feminine about it. We hear the stereotypes. If you lift weights, you will get bulky. Betsy is working to change that narrative.
I found more like inspiration and stuff through looking online at other women who are in the sport. But it's affected me a lot, I would say, because sometimes I feel a little isolated, but then also I would say it's actually kind of affected my body image in a way. And I would say that because I don't want to have like the stereotype that I'm like bulky or masculine, but I still want to feel feminine, but I love being strong and feeling strong and powerful. And so that's been a challenge in my mind, but I think that it's actually really helped me to see how beautiful it is that I can be strong, and it doesn't really matter about any stereotypes with it.
Betsy takes on this weight with poise and strength. I'm Blythe Novick reporting for the Nightly News.
Thank you, Blythe. Betsy's next meet is on April 20th at the PAC.
You may have noticed extra people on campus this week. That's because we hosted South Carolina's Special Olympics. 1,300 athletes participated in over 15 track and field events, all vying for those blue ribbons. This just in. Earlier this semester, we told you about the Furman Now app, previously known as FU Live. You can now find it on the App Store. Wow, that would have been nice to have when I was a freshman.
For sure. If I knew what the dining hall was serving, that would definitely influence my dinner choices.
Definitely. This has been Marissa Shabis.
And I'm Esme Fernandez.
With the Nightly News.